Is Naruto Buddha? The Eastern philosophy that transformed the anime? What if I told you that Naruto isn't just a story about ninjas, but actually the greatest lesson on Buddhism ever made for young people? And that Masashi Kishimoto didn't just create a story, but actually retold Buddha's teachings using jutsus and tailed beasts? You probably think I'm reaching, right? But brace yourself, because once you see the connections, you'll realize Naruto is literally Buddha, reincarnated in anime form. Spoiler: Kishimoto studied Buddhism deeply before creating Naruto, and every episode is a Buddhist lesson disguised as action. You'll never see Naruto the same way again. The enlightened birth, Naruto as the baby Buddha. Think about it. How was Naruto born? Rejected by his village, completely alone, carrying a burden he didn't choose. Buddha was born into a very different life, a prince, but he left everything behind to understand human suffering. Naruto was born into suffering and chose to love those who rejected him. Both escaped their prisons to help others. And the clearest parallel? Buddha reached enlightenment under a tree. Naruto often meditates alone in the forest. Buddha faced the temptations of Mara, the demon. Naruto faces Kurama, his inner demon. Buddha conquered Mara through compassion. Naruto transforms Kurama into a friend through love. Same pattern, same journey, same enlightenment. Kishimoto wasn't even trying to hide it. The cycle of suffering. Sasuke as Samsara. This one's undeniable. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment and hatred. Sasuke is the embodiment of this. Attached to his past, the Uchiha massacre, consumed by hatred toward Itachi, trapped in a cycle of revenge. Buddhists call this cycle samsara, endless suffering. Sasuke lives samsara, hatred, revenge, more revenge, an endless vicious circle. Naruto represents the Buddhist path to break samsara, unconditional compassion, radical forgiveness, love for his enemies. What happens? Naruto redeems Sasuke in the end, exactly as Buddha taught. Hatred does not cease by hatred. Only by love does it cease. Sasuke stops suffering when he stops hating. Pure Buddhism. Universal compassion. Turning villains into allies. Now here's the most Buddhist aspect of all. Naruto never kills anyone. Not even the worst villains. Why? Buddhism teaches ahimsa, absolute nonviolence. Buddha believed every being can be saved. Naruto does exactly this. Gaara, from psychotic killer to protective Kazekage. Neji, from bitter fatalist to sacrificial hero. Pain, from genocidal terrorist to redeemed pacifist. Obito, from manipulative warlord to heroic savior. Madara, from final villain to a man who admits his mistake before death. How does Naruto do this? Pure Buddhist technique. Loving kindness. He sees the pain behind the hate. Understands the suffering that created the villain. Offers compassion instead of judgment. Result: total transformation. Buddha did exactly this with the lost souls of his time. Naruto is a ninja Buddha. The Eightfold Path, Naruto's 8 teachings. Buddha created the Noble Eightfold Path, 8 steps to enlightenment. Naruto follows all of them. 1. Right view sees goodness in everyone, even enemies. 2. Right intention protects the village, not for glory. 3. Right speech, Talk-no-Jutsu, word to heal. 4. Right action never kills, always saves. 5. Right livelihood, a ninja protector, not a killer. 6. Right effort, constant training to help others. 7. Right mindfulness, constant meditation, sage mode. 8. Right concentration, deep focus on saving others. Naruto's sage mode is a Buddhist meditative state. He literally stops fighting to meditate in battle and finds peaceful solutions, just like Buddha under the Bodhi tree. Kishimoto wasn't being subtle. Talk-no-Jutsu, the most Buddhist technique. What's Naruto's strongest technique? Talk-no-Jutsu, talking enemies into changing sides. Fans joke Naruto wins by talking, but that's pure Buddhism. Buddha never used violence. Only words, only compassion, only understanding. Naruto does the same. To Gaara, you feel alone too? To Pain, I understand your pain. To Obito, you were trying to protect someone. To Sasuke, you're my best friend. Every Talk-no-Jutsu is a Buddhist therapy session. Naruto doesn't judge, doesn't condemn. He understands and offers unconditional love. Result: transformation through compassion. Buddha would totally approve. Suffering as a teacher, the pain that enlightens. Buddhism teaches that suffering is a first step toward enlightenment. No one in Naruto suffers more than Naruto himself. Orphaned, hated by the village, totally alone, burdened with an inner demon. But instead of turning bitter, he uses his pain to connect with others. I know what it's like to be alone. That one line converts more villains than any jutsu. Why? Because it comes from real pain. Naruto's compassion is genuine. Buddha also left his palace to witness suffering, illness, and death. Only those who suffer can truly help those who suffer. Naruto and Buddha understood this. That's why they can save anyone. Final enlightenment. Naruto as a modern Buddha. Final episode of Naruto. He brings peace to the entire world. How? Not through power, but through understanding. Not through violence, but through compassion. All villains become allies. All villages unite. The cycle of hatred is broken. Global peace is achieved. Exactly what Buddha promised. End of suffering through enlightenment. Naruto becomes Hokage not for power, but because of love. Everyone sees him as a compassionate leader. Just like Buddha, who never proclaimed himself a leader. People followed him because he radiated peace. Same pattern. Same leadership through example. Naruto is a ninja Buddha. The truth that will change how you see anime. The truth is, Kishimoto didn't just make fantasy. He adapted Buddhism for the modern generation. Naruto teaches compassion for enemies, unconditional forgiveness, transformation through love, breaking the cycle of revenge, enlightenment through suffering, compassionate leadership. Global peace is possible. All are core Buddhist teachings. Millions of young people learn Buddhism without realizing it through an anime about ninjas. Genius. Naruto did what Buddhist temples couldn't. Spread Buddhism globally to an entire generation. Without dogma, without religion, just pure wisdom. Buddha would be proud. So, is Naruto Buddha? You decide. But now you know, every episode is a lesson in enlightenment. Comment if you see these connections, or if I'm just imagining things. Share if Naruto taught you more about compassion than any religion class ever did. Wisdom is everywhere, even in anime.